Welcome to the Chainout podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Yeah, this is, what do we say, Daryl? We always say continuous improvement, and this is definitely a big step towards that, isn't it?
Yeah, trying to set something up on your phone at work. Yeah, it doesn't quite work out, but we got there in the end. I posted a new link. I don't know if anybody wants to share it, whatever. Maybe everybody is finding their way in. So, yeah, we'll get everything right for next week, we promise.
Yeah. And everybody who's out there who's trying to do some tech stuff, Daryl is a guru, and what he can do is magic before an episode starts. It's
what I can do with a mouse and a keyboard, Jeremy.
Yeah, exactly. You got the great, powerful Oz, and then behind the curtains is Daryl frantically working to put the episode together.
I'm not gonna lie. I was sweating a bit there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the live portion of this, want to take a quick look and see what's going on there, and maybe shout that out before we get into it?
Yeah, we should do, right? We should give the people that actually wanted to come and watch this thing live and see what they're like behind the scenes. Dylan is in the chat. Dylan always comments on our videos, so we appreciate Dylan. How you doing, Dylan? Brendan McKinstry, he said he was going to drop in as well, so he's here. And friend of the show, Mark Thompson, is in the chat as well.
That's right. Well,
and Mark was actually doing us a favor a minute ago, so we thank him for that.
Thank you, Mark. And speaking of Mark, we actually got a chance to play with Mark on the weekend.
We did, yeah. The weather's continuing to be good here in Edmonton.
Oh, you've jinxed it.
We got out. Hey?
You've jinxed it. You've talked about the weather.
I'm not the jinx, Jeremy. You're the jinx.
I thought about it. I was going to put on a parka, but I just didn't know how I was going to get it off for the rest of the episode.
Right. I'd like to see that. You remember South Park?
Yes.
Who is it? Kenny?
Kenny. Oh my God, they killed Kenny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we got out. And if you, Mike Carey's in the chat as well. Hi, Mike. If you looked at us, if you saw our Instagram, the last couple of weekends or last couple of while here, we've been doing a 3-hole disc dice challenge.
That is correct.
And we got out again on the weekend, and this time we were lucky enough to have Mark with us.
That's right. And the last 2 times we did it, we actually did holes 1 to 3 at Hermitage, and then we did holes 4 to 6. Yep. This time we did holes 1 to 3 at Rundle. And I don't know about you, Daryl, but that was a good set to start, but I'm not looking forward to doing 4 to 6 at Rundle right now. That's going to be a long Instagram live.
Yeah, I think we might have to, anybody knows that hole 6 at Rundle is the long par 4. Excuse me, we might have to, we might have to pick 3 different holes.
No, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We'll just be quicker.
We're going to do putter roller 5 times, 6 times just to get to the basket. With 3 of us doing it, that might take a little bit of time.
We'll have fun. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
No,
we had fun doing the 3 holes that we did. I don't know if Mark regrets saying that he wanted to come along and do it now, because one thing Mark is, I was going to say famous for, but he's famous for not having is a forehand.
Right.
And he avoided it for most of the round, but he did the dice gods did not shine down on him. He was told to do a forehand, I think, at one point, wasn't he?
Sure. Yes, it was hole 2 off the tee. Mark got forehand driver, I believe is what it was.
Was that what I know? Okay. Yeah. I know he was lucky enough that he said he's been, that's why he has all those overstable discs, right? Because why do you need a forehand when you can do that? Well, that's right, because he did reference the fact that he played Ultimate for so long.
Yes. Well, he pulled out the time lapse. Mark pulls out the time lapse, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect, Mark. That thing, it's going to just hyzer right in. You're going to be fine no matter what you do. Just throw it out there. Yeah. Mark, with all the spin and all the power that guy can put on a disc, he actually turned over a time lapse. So as Mike Carey likes to call it, the meat hook, it didn't meat hook at all. It actually went to hole 1's basket, and he was parked for it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't intending it, but Mark was kind of playing safari golf there. He was playing on opposite fairways and everything. But, and then hole 3, we'd already scheduled to play 18 holes with him, but Tyler showed up as well.
Yeah. So Tyler Edwards joined us. He's actually Mark's doubles partner for that upcoming doubles tournament that Brock's putting on.
Yeah. So we got to finish out the round there, the disc dice challenge with Tyler on hole 3, the short little par 3 there at Rundle, and we all had a good time. And luckily, I'm going to pat myself on the back and say that out of all the 4 shots, I was the only one that birdied it even
Yeah,
if I had to do a forehand roller into the basket. But yeah, no, it was a good round. And then, like I said, we met up with Tyler, and we had already scheduled to do an 18-hole round at Rundle as well. So we did that. And then, we were just enjoying the weather too much. We said, okay, Mark and Tyler, you're getting prepped for your doubles round. So, I mean, it only makes sense that the chainout gang would team up.
Yep, we did.
And we took on Tyler and Mark, and it was close.
Well, for the first, what was it? For the front 9 there, Mark and Tyler looked like they were going to take it away from us. They're birdieing and we're parring, and we were doing fine, but we just weren't scoring on every hole. But then as we kind of turned the corner and we started to get to the back 9, we were parking holes. You're throwing in long berg putts like nobody's business.
With authority is what Tyler liked to say. With authority.
With authority. And we get to hole 18 at Rundle, and we are up by 1 against Mark and Tyler. Now, I guess one thing, we have to give it...
caveats.
No caveats?
We were up.
We were up
by 1.
But they managed to get the par. We took the bogey. We got tied, and we had to go into... we went to sudden death playoffs, right?
Yeah, sudden death playoffs. We played...
Hole 19.
Hole 19, if anybody knows the short little... hop over the gully to the practice basket by the trail house.
Yep.
Which we all kind of figured that we should all be birdieing it, or it was going to be there wasn't going to be one clear winner of that hole.
And certainly it didn't work out that way. We birdied, they birdied.
Yeah.
And then we went to hole 1, and I threw a horrible drive. You stepped up to save us. And it was okay too.
Yeah, but I think the old guys, I don't want to blame it on our age or anything, but they've got a couple of years on us.
Yeah, that's true. We were 40 holes
now we
in
can
by
make
that
caveats
point. Technically, hey, we were 40 holes in at that point. 18 and 18, 36 plus 19. Yeah, we were at 40 holes. We were tiring out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it on that. But anyways, we got them warmed up. Thanks for playing with us, Tyler and Mark. And I kind of had a thought about that, Daryl. Is I said, for our listeners, if there are some listeners out there who want to who have a doubles partner, and they want to come out and try to beat the Chainout gang, or the Chainout podcast hosts. I don't know. What are we calling ourselves?
I like Chainout gang. Maybe that has a bit of a ring to it.
All right. If they want to, they can do it. And I'm going to put something out there, Daryl. I don't know how you're going to feel about this.
Go for it.
But we are EDGA members, and we have those fancy little tags. I'm willing to put our tags on the line on anybody who wants to challenge us, and they can say they took the Chainout gang's tags.
Well, I guess... Yeah, we did speak to Brock about that, and what are the rules for, playing for tags. As long as you declare it up front, I will concede if you want to play for tags, then we can play for tags. But seeing as you're saying that, you're putting it out to the listeners.
Yes.
Just taking a quick look at the chat. Gavin from Spruce Grove is in the chat. If you guys ever come out to Spruce Grove, he'd be up for the Disc Dice Challenge.
Oh, that would be great.
And we know who else is out in Spruce Grove, right? So, I mean, there's definitely a double pairing out there that might want to challenge us.
All right. I like it. Sounds good. Well, speaking of things that are happening that way, leagues are about to start. And the first league that's going to start is April 11th, next Thursday, is the Rundle League. And we're both participating in it. That's the one league that we both decided to join and be part of. So totally looking forward to that. Haven't got my jersey yet, but I'm really hoping that Candy Bomb jersey comes in so I can wear that out there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Yeah.
And then maybe your folk jersey will be out too. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I did double check it. They were on a pre-order, so I'm not sure the date that they're going to be here. But some things in life are just worth waiting for.
That's right.
People in the chat are saying that we should be called the Chain Gang.
The Chain Gang.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
got
Chainout
decent
Gang,
ring.
but Chain Gang. Yeah.
Want to shout out our socials there for us, Daryl?
We can do that. We always like to shout out the socials. We're always looking to make sure that people are following us on Instagram. Make sure you're following us on YouTube and everywhere like that. And if I do some fancy stuff, because part of my other job is producer for the Chainout podcast. If you head over to Instagram at chainout_podcast, we're posting daily. Not only highlight clips from episodes, things like that. We also do We've got the Disc Dice Challenge. Like we said, we go live on Instagram. We're trying to do a little bit of a series about how long it's going to take us to score an ace on certain different holes. We like to see what you're all about, which disc you're going to throw. You see all the guests that we've had previously. So if there's any previous guests that you take your fancy that you like to think you want to hear more of, go and have a look on Instagram and then head over to YouTube. And also, Jeremy kind of runs this section over here, but if you're one of those Facebook people, we're also on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Just search for Chainout Podcast and you'll find us over there.
That's right. And you can listen to us on all of your audio platforms, whether it's Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music.
Or Apple, yeah.
We're there.
While we're talking about that, we don't kind of shout out this enough, but if you do listen to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, we always ask you to subscribe on YouTube. But if you listen, drop a like. Rate us. Rate and review. Give us 5 stars.
If we are worthy of it to you.
Well,
if
even
not,
if we're not
then find somebody who that thinks we're worthy of it and ask them to rate us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've left everybody waiting long enough. Let's move on. We've got a guest tonight. We got a great guest. And over the last 3 weeks, we've kind of been all over Western Canada. Well, even into Eastern Canada. We talked to Miguel Alvarado out in the West a few weeks ago. We talked to Brian Freese in Winnipeg. And then we just most recently, with the episode that dropped today, we talked to Colleen McInnes in Ontario. So we don't want to forget about our homegrown locals. Well,
that is what we say, right?
Yeah, we're local. Yeah. We're Edmonton. We're Alberta. We're Canada. That's what we are. Let's bring it back home is what I was thinking.
I'm good with that.
So if you're ready, Daryl, are you ready?
Drum roll, please. Well, I could do it, but...
Yeah, mine's better. I'm like, I should be recording those for the buttons.
Go for it.
Tonight's guest recently moved to Edmonton. He plays at the MA1 level, is a board member for the EDGA. He won his first tournament of 2024, the Tundra Toss, which was also his first tournament in Edmonton. He's sponsored by Dark Ace. We can't wait to talk to him about all of that and more. Let's welcome Matt Dwyer to the show.
Hey. How are you doing, Matt?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Oh, we're doing well. Glad to be on.
Good. How's your day been so far?
It's been great. I mean, the weather's really nice. So we just walked the pup outside. So walked around River Valley area a bit. So yeah, can't complain.
That's one of the benefits of living in Edmonton, right?
Absolutely.
Got that great River Valley, yeah.
Well, Matt, I'm going to have to say something to you right off the top. Sure. Is that I've been messing around in my podcast studio here, and I've been putting discs behind me, making little backgrounds. I've got a poster on the other side in case I turn this whole thing around. But looking at what you got set up there, I'd almost think it was I can't believe how beautiful that looks.
Thank you. I do a lot of work from home. So I work as a psychologist. So I do a lot of online telehealth sessions. So I tried to create something that, can kind of serve that purpose. So.
No, it doesn't. It's so good that I almost was expecting that maybe you were going to hit a button and it was going to change, and it was just...
No, we're all analog back there. It's all real.
That's fantastic. So later on when Daryl says, go grab that guitar, we'll see.
You bet.
Maybe you can play us out.
Yeah, that's right. So have you been getting out? Actually, I don't even want to ask if you've been getting out. I know you've been getting out and enjoying that warm weather because we've seen a post recently here where there happened to be an EDGA EDGA league tag available with a fancy number on it that the Vice President Brock was putting up for grabs, and you kind of participated in a round about that to actually have an opportunity to win it, didn't you?
We did, yeah. We Brock and Mike and I got out on Saturday, played the Niska course. It was really beautiful. It's my first time playing it this year, so that was nice. So I got the #1 tag right now. Already have a challenger, so I'm going to be playing friend of the pod, Mark Thompson, on Friday for it. So
yeah. Well, he's in the chat right now. Actually, he's been Already catcalling us and calling us out, hasn't he been, Daryl?
Yeah. I just want to hear Matt give him some smack talk.
Well, we'll see. We're playing. It'll be my first time playing the Wild Man course, so I feel like he's gonna have a little home field advantage. So I'll have my work cut out for me.
Well, you would think there's some home field advantage, but when you're at Wild Man, as in the name Wild Man, there is no home field advantage. Maybe except for when you're looking for discs, because I know Matt can have a disc go off the tee and he can say, yeah, go search 7 trees down to the right. You should probably find it there. That's about the only person who's got hometown advantage or home field advantage there.
Nice.
So that's good. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about there was in that round, I kind of saw when Brock was posting, there was an ace in that round. Is that right?
It was an ace. It was his first ace, or at least he said his first ace where it was his first one off the tee.
Okay.
And he was so casual about it. You would have never even known he threw it in. It was like he does it every day.
Wow.
And it was with a really cool disc. I had no idea what he was throwing. I asked him, what's that? And it was an ESP Flick. So kind of a unique, old school Discraft forehand disc. So it was really cool.
Cool. And now, if I'm recalling right, when I was reading his post, it was hole number 7 at Niska, which is after the long walk when you have to throw through the tight trees at the start. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, right? I just got to get through these 2 trees here. I'm not even thinking about throwing it in the basket. And he just stepped right up. Perfect skip shot.
That's amazing. And so that was it. And he is a forehand player. So he threw a nice little forehand. It skipped in. And that basket, too, that's when they get to the kind of sketchier baskets as well. So all around, first ace, that's got to rank right up there for sure.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but that's no wide open hole 3 at Rundle, right? That's no easy shot. So yeah.
And that wasn't enough though for him to keep the tag.
It was not. No, I mean, he put up a pretty good fight though. It was a lot of fun. It was a good round. But I'm looking forward to seeing people coming out playing for that number 1 tag. So I'll hold on to it as long as I can. But
yeah, it's probably good that it leaves the EDGA board members at some point, I would think.
So what did you think of that course?
I love it. I mean, I think it's so cool to have a course that is both private and public, right? I mean, it's private in the sense that you have to be a board member, of course, but anybody can become or an EDGA member. You're right. Yep. But anybody can join EDGA, right? And so I think it just adds so much value to the membership. I've heard from so many people already, even in the short time I've been here, that they'd pay more for a membership just to get access to the course if that was the only thing they got, right? Because that's such a good value.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it, and the property's beautiful. It seems like the hospital loves having us there. So yeah, all around, just a really great environment.
Yeah, we've said that before, and I think Tim's even echoed it as well. Like, if you go to a private course, you pay $10 or $20 to play it for that one day. For the cost of an EDGA membership, $20 gets you the whole year. Play it as many times as you want. Gives you that extra. There's not really another course like it. Just the fact that it's in the grounds, like we've said before. When you get to the tree in the wooded section, like those trees are really grown in. Like you're not. There's a few holes with a bit of a wide open fairway, but a lot of the trees are all the baskets are tucked away and well designed holes there. So yeah, I like getting out there. And I was talking to our buddy Mark recently about when we can get back out there again, what the weather's what the course is going to be like with all the snow melting here. And yeah, I can't wait to get back out and play it again, Jeremy. I don't know about yourself.
Oh no, of course, I've talked about it before. It's one of my favorite courses. And then also with it too, Matt, is once we hit the smack dab in the middle of the summer, you're going to pull up to Rundle and you're going to go, is there like a concert going on here? What's happening? There's somebody on every tee on a Saturday morning and it's busy and you're waiting and everything else, almost like Baker Park down in Calgary, which is another big popular course. So to me, you go out to Niska, maybe there's 2 other people just putting, you start a cart and off you go, and you've got all that room and space out there. So that's another reason I like heading out to Niska.
For sure.
I guess we're in that kind of tricky part in the beginning where we want the sport to grow. We know how great the sport is. We want more people to get involved. We just want to spread the word and the joy of disc golf, but just don't come to the course when I'm going to go there because I don't want it to be too busy.
Right. I mean, more incentive for more courses, right? That's what it is.
I like it. Yeah.
Right. So you build it and more will come, and you got to build more and more will come. So hopefully we'll just keep growing.
Yeah. I mean, just off the top of my head, Southside could do with a course. Just saying.
See how I tried to cut him off? I knew it was coming.
Well, I'll tell you, Daryl, you've got an advocate on the board for that, for sure. I promise you, it is a regular discussion. It's just a matter
Perfect.
of trying to figure out how to do it, where to put it. So it is absolutely a work in progress, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I'm half joking when I keep bringing it up on the podcast, mainly just to wind Jeremy up. But I do know that it's on everybody's mind. It is a hot topic, and I know everyone's doing what they can to to try and make it a reality. So yeah, right. It doesn't fall on deaf ears, and I'm not taking it lightly that I don't think anyone's ever doing anything. I know that everybody's trying to work behind the scenes because Edmonton definitely needs it.
It has been so inspiring to be joining a club and joining a new community and seeing some of the people here and the work that they've done and learning about the history of Edmonton disc golf. And, I've been lucky to be a part of some really great clubs, but we've got some, individual members here in this one that I think are just absolute superstars. So, when they say like, we're going to get one done down there, I believe them for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I think you know enough about our show that we want to learn how you did get into disc golf, because you are new to the city and maybe you've talked and shared your story, but not with everybody. So we thought, why not do that on the podcast? And for me, I don't like to just say, tell us how you got into disc golf. I got to make it fun. Mm-hmm. So in my effort to make it fun, I started out with the superhero origin stories. I was working on that, but then I recently moved to movie stories, and I'm going to keep with that. And I've got a potential story that might line up with your theme. So I ran it by Daryl. He feels pretty confident about it too. And we thought, because we have listeners here, right, Daryl?
Yeah, I've already put it in the chat. I was going to give it a shout out to the chat. I hadn't forgotten.
All right, we're going to see.
Put it out in the chat to see if anyone can guess who can be fastest to try and guess the origin story this week.
All right. Are you all set, Matt?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Maybe you grew up in New Jersey, and right when you were about to go into high school, your mom moved you to a new city, possibly Edmonton. While you were getting your bearings in the new apartment complex, you saw an old man catching flies with discs, with 2 discs. It was interesting, but you moved on. At the Halloween dance, you dressed up as a disc golf basket. The local bullies chased you home and had you cornered. Just when you thought all hope was lost, a glowing disc came flying out of the night and knocked the leader out. Disc after disc, T-Bird, Valkyries, maybe even a groove, knocked the bullies out. The old man was a disc golf master. He taught you with his hyzer on and hyzer off technique, and you eventually became the best around. Now, maybe that's not quite how you got into disc golf, but why don't you tell us how you did?
Well, you certainly got a couple of the details right. So that was, and that New Jersey accent, you had me convinced there for sure. I only lived there for a short period of time, but it brought me right back to, getting a hoagie from the Wawa, right? All the things. So, so I grew up in Minnesota, and that's where I first started learning how to play disc golf. I think I played around like on an elementary school field trip, but to be honest with you, I don't really remember because I probably thought it was kind of lame at the time. But I was really into golf growing up. So, and I played a little bit ultimate in high school. And so when I went to college and I didn't have, an ultimate team to be able to play on anymore, and golf got too expensive and too time consuming, disc golf just kind of happened to be, the perfect marriage of the two. And I was lucky to go to a school where there's a 9-hole course, like right off campus. And so for me, it was just sort of like a right time, right place. Was a great way to meet friends, was a great way to, get some free, cost-effective time outside. And that's really kind of where it started. I had some really great people that, taught me how to play. I think my first disc was like a polecat, which, as an ultimate player made a lot of sense to me. But then when you see somebody be able to throw something, way further, be able to make, all these putts from, super far away, I was like, I gotta actually learn how to play this thing, right? And so I spent a lot of those early years just kind of learning how to play the sport. And then it wasn't until I moved away for grad school and I really had to, start a social, kind of start building a social community, make some friends. I was like, okay, this could actually be a hobby that I get into now. And so it was when I moved away, I moved east to start grad schools, when I started like getting into disc golf a little more, recreationally, beyond just like something you could do with your buddies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, that's awesome.
I just wanted to touch on a little bit there. Jeremy kind of mentioned it in your origin story, and I know we got some history on you. He mentioned the T-Birds.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have that original
I
T-Bird?
do. So the original T-Bird, I do not. So yeah, I had a polecat, and then I was like, well, of course I have to get a driver. So I think the next disc that I got was a Groove, which you had mentioned in the story there. It was the fastest driver that I think Innova made at the time, and I was like, well, obviously it's going to go the furthest.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I did have a friend of mine who was like, no, you need this T-Bird. It's like the best disc that you can learn how to throw, and he was probably right.
What type of T-Bird was it?
Unfortunately, it was a really cool like tie-dye champion one. It was like a sun pattern, kind of like that. Yeah, but although mine was leaf colored, so that was the issue. So it definitely got buried under a pile of leaves somewhere along the way.
Right.
Never to see it again. But
it
I still
struck a chord with me that you said you had a T-Bird and it was an eye dye, and I had one, and I'm like, maybe this was the same one that you had, but
yeah, no, I mean, I probably wouldn't have lost it if it looked like that one. That one, I think, would have stood out a little more for sure.
Yeah.
I do still have the Groove. I don't bag it, but
okay,
I still have it.
Nice. Is that in your other podcast background area? Is that
it must be on the other shelf?
Well, I don't have a polecat, but I've seen it, and if I remember right, that one to me, it almost has like a flat, straight down edge. Like you could turn it over, and if you were camping, you could use it to put your cereal and milk in. Is that kind of, am I right with the shape of that disc?
Yeah, it is a funky disc, and I still bag one. I have a Halo polecat in the bag. It doesn't come out every round, but yeah, it's a really funny shaped disc. It is just like a bowl. Like I actually use it as a dog bowl when I bring our Pomeranian puppy out,
there you go,
to be able to fill it with water. But yeah, it's a fun disc, and I think other people, I think it's sort of similar to the Glitch, is like the really popular one that's in kind of a similar class right now. But yeah, you got to try one.
That's neat. And I also want to dig in from your origin story there on Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I hear Minnesota come up, we talked to Brian Fries. He went down there a lot. He met Kale LaVisca. He was playing, I think he even met Ezra Aderhold down there. And from what we understand, Minnesota's got a lot of good stuff. And Daryl, if you wouldn't know it, next year's Masters Worlds is being held in Minnesota. So I'm thinking,
why didn't you tell me, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm thinking, Matt, you'd encourage us to go down there and check that out. That'd be a good disc golf hub to check out, wouldn't it?
I mean, I'm biased, but it's the best, right? I think, I mean, anytime you're talking about disc golf hubs, it has to be in the conversation, right? Like the Twin Cities area alone has so many excellent 18-hole disc golf courses. Most of them are all free to play, but then you get outside of the city a little bit. I've actually not played the Preserve yet, so it's something that's on my list, but it's there.
That's Jeremy's big selling point.
Yeah, but the one though that I don't think gets enough attention these days, but back in the day, back when I started playing, it was the one you had to play, was Blue Ribbon Pines. Are you guys familiar with BRP at all?
Well,
no, I'm actually not. I've heard the name, like it sounds familiar, but no, I've only heard Preserve in that area is the big one that's talked about because it's on the tour, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so Blue Ribbon Pines is kind of there you go. It's sort of the original like private course in Minnesota that everybody's got to play at some point. 27 holes in its normal layout. The old like national tour event that they used to have there is the Minnesota Majestic. And they still have a great A tier that they'll bring touring pros through. Like one of the best like pre-Jomez filmed tournament coverages you can watch is there's a battle between Ricky Wysocki and Nate Sexton that went into like a 8-hole playoff or something.
Wow.
Crazy like that. That is definitely worth a watch. You get to see the whole course that way. But yeah, it's just a beautiful track. It's one that I try to play if I'm home for any extended period of time. I got to get up there at some point. It's definitely one that should be on everybody's bucket list for sure.
Well, and just seeing those pictures that Daryl put up, look at that. Like the pictures of the course look amazing,
Yeah.
but I think I could hang out in that pro shop and just
sure.
Yeah.
check some stuff out there.
It was a private course before private course disc golf, at least in my mind, was really as wide of a thing as it is now. The idea of paying, I think it was like $8 for a whole day pass the last time I was up there, which was a few years ago. But like, you were happy to pay it because of the amenities. It's got like a snack shack on halfway through the course with a grill that you can get a hot dog or a burger. Nice. The driving range hole, I think a couple of pictures you had up there is literally a driving range hole. So there's field markers you can see. You're throwing off kind of a peninsula tee box that you can throw off of. Yeah. And the most famous one they have there is hole 4. It's like the original tunnel shot. It's the anytime you have a course that has a tunnel shot, you know, it's probably inspired, at least in part, by that course. And if you got, it's a par 4. It's not very long. It's only like maybe 400 feet, but it's just a dead straight shot in the trees.
Gonna find it again.
And if you ever get a chance to birdie it, it's not. I've only done it a handful of times, but it's just always the highlight of maybe even your whole disc golf season. So
that's nice. So Daryl, are you sold?
You're getting me there, Jeremy. Yeah, the needle's definitely swaying more towards the yes. But just going back to this disc golf course, like we all do probably as we drive around, we see these nice areas of land for sale, and we think, oh, it would be nice to put a disc golf course there. And I always think that whenever I buy a disc golf course, I'm gonna like plan it out so that every hole I'm gonna put power under the fairways, and I'm gonna have lights that come up so that you can play glow golf. Mm-hmm. And then looking at this blue ribbons hole number 4, like you said, the tunnel shot, like it's all lit up with lights down, the basket's illuminated, like they've got the different color lights, like it just looks awesome. It's almost like somebody read my mind to be like, this is like what I was imagining being like a glow round or a glow hole. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait to get down there next year when we go, Daryl. It's going to be fantastic. Maybe we can get you to come, Matt. Maybe you'll be home at that time visiting people or something like that.
Love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be cool. You could show us the ropes there. And Daryl's always looking to offer up some money to pay somebody to be a caddy too, aren't you?
Jeremy likes to throw me under the bus a lot.
I do. We even have a little off thing there. I'm like, you just tell me to back up the bus and then I'll move on to the next one. And moving on to the next one, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the tournaments you played. And the first one, looking through your PDGA history, and this is not throwing Daryl under the bus, is right up Daryl's alley.
Yeah, like looking at one of the tournaments that you've played some, like I said, we've played some interesting tournaments, but one that stood out to me was it was a Star Wars themed tournament. Now I was interested, was that like what level of Star did you have to dress up? Were the baskets decorated like R2D2? Like what was the whole theme of that round?
So during the round, it'll probably underwhelm you. There wasn't a whole lot, but the tournament director did dress up as Han Solo, so that was and you know, pretty convincing, right? He really pulled it off. And then he did there was like a little in place of like a CTP. I think that they might have had CTPs as well, but sort of in that same line, a little like side competition is he hit a little R2D2 and C3PO on the course, and it was like whoever could find the droids, you know, you got like a disc or something like that. So that was kind of fun. You didn't really want to though, because they were pretty far off off the fairway. So if you were out there and you found them, you probably didn't want to be. Yeah. But then the main thing was at the end they did like the whole A New Hope award ceremony thing. And so the medallion that they gave out was like a replica of the one from the movie. They had the music playing and everything. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
In my mind, every basket was decorated like a different droid.
Oh, everybody had
cool. Everybody had to dress up.
Yeah. And also looking through there, it looked like there wasn't just one tournament. Was that just a tournament every year and they just changed the name of it? Or was there a kind of a set of themes to the Star Wars tournaments?
Yeah, so it was each movie kind of was the name of the theme. So I think the one, I forget what the one I played in was, but it was sometime during the original trilogy. So he was kind of working his way through all of the movies. And I don't think the sequel trilogy had come out at that point yet. So maybe they kept it going. I'm not sure. But I like to think so.
Yeah, I love it. I love a theme. I love when someone really embraces it and goes all for it. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other tournaments we want to talk to you about, we're going to keep and hold off until we get to your sponsors. So we're going to wait till there. But one of the things we had noticed was you've actually had a chance in us talking about worlds to go to a number of the worlds. And we wanted you to maybe tell us about some of those, like if you got to play in them, if you were just a spectator, what was it like? What years did you go? All that stuff. We want to hear about worlds because it's going to just keep planting and watering that seed for Daryl.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, never played, for sure. Never played. I'm happy. And I mean, even moving here, stepping up to MA1 feels like a jump for me. So I'm staying in the amateur world for now, for sure. But attending. So my wife and I got engaged in 2021, and we did a road trip like right after our engagement from Arizona up to Utah, where the last thing that we were going to do was attend the Worlds when it was in Ogden. So we were able to attend in 2021. We got to see the Fort course on the last day, or the last 2 days. And so we got to follow the card for the most part. We didn't get like VIP passes or anything like that because it's still at that point wasn't quite as big as maybe the more recent two.
Right.
So we were able to kind of just walk the course and meet all the players. And I have a disc that has like all the signatures on it. Everybody, you can just walk right up to them. It was totally different in terms of the amount of accessibility. And then on the last day, of course, we were watching the FPO round in the morning. We saw, them coming down hole 18. Paige Pierce was there, right? And she had her whole film crew doing her documentary, right?
Gotcha.
Had the lead in the fairway. All she had to do was, pitch up, and it was going to be the big story, right? She's going to have the record for the most number of world wins in FPO, and she threw out of bounds, just inexplicably, right? She turned a zone. I mean, it could happen to any of us, right? We've all done it, right? You have your overstable forehand approach disc. I think it was a zone for her, and you just turn it over a little too much, and it never quite comes back. And it was so quiet. It was so dead. Everybody was in so much shock. Katrina Allen had an amazing upshot that barely stayed in bounds, made the putt, and was able to, win as the underdog in that case. And of course, everybody's saying like, there's no way that we're ever going to top. Like that was the most exciting finish to Worlds we could have ever anticipated, right?
Yes.
So you go into the NPO round, of course, thinking there's no way it's going to top that, right? Same situation. You have Paul McBeth coming down the fairway. You have James Conrad, whose drive hit the tree and laid up short. We've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
I'm standing kind of along the left side, like right where Paul McBeth's drive landed, maybe only like 20 feet to the right of, or to the left of that. And I was able to kind of come in behind the card, right? So the spectator line was able to kind of come in behind them. I'm maybe standing like 6 people deep. I think in the video you can maybe see the top of the straw hat that I'm wearing over like somebody's shoulder. And I got a picture of him lining up the shot. He's got his hand kind of covering his eyes because the sun is like right in his face. He puts it up, right? Everybody's watching this go in, and it was like magic. Like it felt so electric. I'm running down the fairway. Everybody's running down the fairway. And it was like a group consciousness where we are all so excited about what just happened. And then we all had the realization of they're going to go to a playoff and we have to get to hole 16, right?
Right.
Because if I don't get to hole 16 and they go to hole 17, what are we going to do, right? Because they're teeing off from on top of that hill. So I'm standing at the bottom of the hill contemplating to myself, if they both birdie this hill or this hole, am I going to jump into the lake? Because you can't go spectate on hole 17 and we have to see how this ends, right?
Right.
So fortunately, it didn't go to hole 17. We were able to watch it in spectacular fashion. All the pros are there watching with all the, spectators. It's pandemonium, right? There's no crowd control at all because there's just so many people. So it was truly like a once in a lifetime thing, and was just very lucky to have been there for it.
Oh, and you
It
tell
always
that
amazes
story
me
so
when-
wonderfully.
Yeah, it always amazes me. Everyone's seen the Holy Shot clip, the video, but to me, you really need to watch the round to get a sense of like what that shot meant. Like
You do.
It's not just it's a great shot. It was for the world title or to tie the round or whatever, but just to watch how it played up, the build up, getting to that point, to know that that's what that shot meant.
Yeah,
It's never really advertised, or it's never really broken down in that beginning part. It's always just the holy shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that really put it into perspective for me was, everybody's excited, everybody's, just so happy to have witnessed it. But the people who were the most excited were the old school pros. Like I saw Des Redding just like losing her mind, like Avery Jenkins, just like, for those people, it was just like this moment that they got to witness, having been in the sport for as long as they have. Like, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able to, talk to them afterwards and to be able to kind of just share in that moment. Like, it really felt like you were living through a moment of history. So
Yeah. And
some of the
I'm sure-
reaction, like you said, not even just the old school players, but all the pros around the basket when they seen it go in, like everybody was just dumbfounded. Like, did that just happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was spectacular for sure. So of course the next year I'm living in St. Louis at the time in 2022. So I'm doing my residency at the St. Louis Veterans Hospital, and World is in Emporia, Kansas. So I'm like, I have to drive out, right? So I drive out to Emporia, got to witness Kristen win her first Worlds. That was really cool in FPO. And then got to see the Paul Macbeth redemption story play out in real time, which was, in some ways it felt like, it was like, oh my gosh, am I going to, get to witness two of the most historic world championships, back to back? How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So that was really nice, neat too. So it was, I was standing on hole 18, kind of where their drives were landing. You could definitely see me in the Jomez video there, on kind of the front line of the OB line, and got to watch them approach the shot. Aaron Gossage throws this amazing approach shot over the trees to be able to land and make the putt, tie it up after Macbeth had just made a monster putt on 17. But then the tricky thing with the island hole is there's not a lot of spectator space to be able to go. So I actually crawled down the embankment. I don't think I was supposed to be down there, but I was able to crawl down the embankment onto the water line and sort of like peek my head between the bushes to be able to see their drives. And I couldn't see, because I was behind the OB wall, whether they stayed in or not. So I had to go based on the crowd reaction to be able to see if Macbeth's drive had actually landed in bounds to be able to take the wind down. So that one was also very cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome, Matt. You are giving us so much good feedback for that. The one thing I did hear out of all of that too, I heard all of this wonderful story you said, but one thing I dug in on was Matt Dwyer has been on Sports Central for disc golf. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, you can interpret it however you want to interpret it, but that what you said is factually true.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so you can add that to your resume.
Excellent. Yeah, never thought of that.
I'll clip it
That's
for you,
great.
and you can use it as a ringtone. That's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Now, not only have you seen those amazing type tournaments as Worlds, did you have another question on Worlds there, Daryl?
No, I was just going to move it right along, but you can take over.
All right. Well, you came into Edmonton this year and got to play your first tournament of the year. And you said, I was feeling a little nervous about moving up to MA1. That's kind of what I heard. But the results of that tournament would say anything but that. So you had a fantastic Tundra Toss, taking the win. What did you think about doing your first Edmonton winter tournament?
It was great. I mean, it certainly lived up to the hype, right? Especially the second round, right? The first round, I'm very glad that I was able to play as well as I did, because the second round was more of a mental battle than anything else. The conditions were, it definitely lived up to the Tundra Toss kind of moniker for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a battle down the stretch. We've got some really great players. Dave there in second place was able to come back during the second round with some really excellent putting. I truly was not. I was lucky to be in a position where I didn't have to make a lot of putts that second round because of the wind and everything, and the snow and the cold hands and grip issues, right? I was not going to try to make any putt outside of 20 feet unless I had to. And he was making it so that I was having to on some of those holes. And then Gavin, the kind of young guy that was on the card, what a talent. I mean, what a really talented guy. The first round, he was the one that was sort of keeping up. We were sort of pushing each other. And had the conditions been different, some of his putts, if they would have stuck, like it could have been a very different outcome. So yeah, it definitely was a good win. It was a hard fought win, and yeah, I'm now I guess I have one in MA1.
Yeah. Have you played in any other sort of tournament like that, like an ice bowl, or have you ever played in any of those like winter? Are you crazy enough to get out and play a tournament in the middle of March?
One time, it was not a sanctioned one because I was not a PDGA member at the time. But back when I was living in Minnesota, we played. It wasn't an ice bowl. I think they called it something else. But it was like, minus 30, snow, wind, all those things. And I was like, wow, who would ever do this? Like, this is miserable. So who would have thought, 10 years later on, or however long it's been, that I'd be voluntarily signing up for another one. But yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I'm very, in some ways, very happy to be back in a place that has like a true winter. It's something I've definitely missed. So,
and we've spoken about it on the last couple of episodes, Jeremy, where you're celebrating summer and then we get snow the same day, when the podcast gets released. But we talk about Alberta weather. If you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes. Like that Tundra Toss really epitomized the two different rounds. Like we talked about it in the Tundra Toss special, but the contrasting environment from the first round to the second round.
Truly, yeah. And with the I think that the hardest thing for me was the ice that was on the ground. I don't know about any of the other players that were in there, but that was something that was so, like, it would just throw you off, right? And I was really having to make sure. We ended, our last hole was on that longer par 4. I actually don't know the numbers of Rundle very well yet, because I've not played the original layout a whole lot.
What we'll say is, do not worry. I just want to interrupt you 1 second. Do not worry if you don't know the numbers, because they've changed so many times in the last 2 years. That, whatever number you say, it probably was that number at some point. So
right. Yeah, I don't know if I've actually played the true original layout yet because of the parking lot and everything. But the longer par 4, the whole green was ice, and so you're trying to play a smart shot and lay up, and it could just completely slide down 40 feet out, even if you're right next to the pin. So you had to run it, right? Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's good. Well, the other thing about that day, because you were there not only as a player, you were also there in a board member capacity. We were there as chainout, and we had our table set up. And once we got the awards done, everybody kind of got out. And I think the faster you got out of that parking lot that day, the better off you were, because by the time we were done packing everything up, I think I needed a shovel to get the snow off the top of the car.
Truly, yeah. It made me glad that I spun for the winter tires, for sure. I was on the fence when we first moved here. Do we really need them? And definitely glad that we did that, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And then taking that into the board member side of things, you come out to Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
And you get invested in the disc golf community, something it sounds like you may have done in other locations you've been in, especially with all the disc golf you've watched in that. But then right away you jump in and say, hey, can I be part of the board? And now you're a board member. So we want to kind of learn a little bit about what the role is that you're doing with the Edmonton Disc Golf Association. EDGA, it's easier to say it that way as I stumble over the words. So what is your role? And tell us about that.
Yeah. So my role is director of club growth, right? So we were talking kind of at the top there of how do you grow disc golf, and fortunately, we're still, I think, in a position where it's growing no matter kind of what we do, right? It just keeps growing. The tricky thing, though, I think, is where do you go from here? Like I said, we've got so many great people in this community who have been investing so much into the sport, and so the way I kind of see my role is, what can we introduce? What can I bring in that's maybe a different perspective? What can I bring in that's worked in some of the places I've been before, right? And also just learning about sort of the nuances and differences, right? The culture of the sport here in Edmonton, right? Who are kind of the major stakeholders in the city? Who are the ones that can kind of get stuff done? So that's how I'm seeing my role right now, is primarily kind of in a learning capacity and supporting capacity, and then finding out which of the initiatives that I sort of have that I can bring forward. So like, some small things, like a small one was, if you were at putting league, you might have noticed that big throwing net that we had back there from Visionary Disc Golf. So my club that I was in New Jersey, one of the members is the owner of that company. And so when I moved here and I said, hey, we've got this putting league coming up, and they were thinking about maybe buying a net, is that something we'd be able to, work out in terms of a small sponsorship? And he was totally game for it. So if anybody, really like that net, hit up Visionary Disc Golf to be able to support them, because, they were able to send that up for us to be able to do that. So bringing in some things like that, if I've got some connections from any of my past experiences, and like I said, like supporting some things that are already in the works, right? So like outreach programming, we've got actually this Saturday, we've got an event going on out at Langholm. If anybody's interested, there's a group from Calgary coming up doing a little it's a company called The Ultimate Race. And they do sort of like amazing, if you've ever seen the reality TV show, The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do those kind of style things. They're coming to Edmonton and they'll be going all around the city doing different competitions. They reached out to us and was like, we want to do something disc golf related. So a few of us are going to go and do a little like putting as well as some throwing competition out there for that group. So just, supporting some things like that in terms of getting the exposure out there. And like I said, I think part of the, growth of the sport is going to involve opportunities to be able to play. So like building more courses, getting more groups that don't know about disc golf involved in the sport. So yeah, those are some of the things that I'm feeling very passionate about and want to be able to support.
Nice. And obviously we've had Tim on the show before, and we've spoken to him about what he sees his role as and how he delegates things to other people on the board. And he's kind of the approach, if you've got a pet project you want to work on, just take it and run with it. That's yours. Can you own it? He's all for that. Is that outreach program? Is that kind of one of your pet projects that you're working on? Or is there anything else that you have in the pipeline or working on more this year?
Yeah, I mean, so another one that we're really excited about is this partnership with Sea Change Brewing. So that's something that existed before I came here, but one that I definitely want to support. There you go.
Piqued my interest. There you go.
Yeah. So this Sunday, we're actually going to be doing a little like tag pickup there. So if you've not been out to Sea Change yet and you want to stop by, pick up your EDGA tag, you can do that. But that's such a cool like opportunity to be able to have a space like that. Like I think something that is potentially missing here in Edmonton that we had in some of the clubs that I've been in is almost like a communal like clubhouse space, right? And if you can do that in partnership with a local organization that wants to support the sport, then you sort of have mutual benefit there. And so the Sea Change, brewing partnership is something I think has a lot of potential to maybe kind of fill that need, right? A place where if it's not on the course, but you want to get together with other, disc golfers, talk disc golf, watch disc golf, like imagine sort of visualize in your mind like a USDGC watch party at Sea Change. How fun would that be, right?
Oh yeah.
So
that's how you get me interested, Jeremy, in something. Beer and disc golf.
All right. Next time we have to ask about Minnesota's breweries, their local craft brews.
There you go.
Perfect. There you go.
No, that's great. And Sea Change is an awesome company. You see a lot of their stuff. I love their Wolf beer. I got the Death Wave here. I'm almost doing a promotion for them, but that's because I love them, not because not a sponsor, but I guess a sponsor of EDGA. So yeah. But when we did talk to Tim, he was saying that one of the goals, and he didn't want to put it as a hard goal, but it would be really nice, was for us to get to 500 EDGA members this year. Last year we got over 400, and I know it's very early in the season, and this drive at Sea Change should probably help to keep pushing it forward. But where are we sitting right now, if you know?
I don't have the most up-to-date numbers, but I know the projections are still looking very promising to be able to get there. So I think it's looking like, with a couple of new initiatives out there, there's a good chance we could hit that 500 mark, right? And I think a big one for sure is like reaching groups that are not currently, on the radar, but fit sort of the profile of what a disc golf player could be, right? And so I think getting younger folks. So one thing that I've also got kind of in the works is working with the Boys and Girls Club of Strathcona County. We're going to do a couple clinics this summer to be able to get some kids out there at Rundle to be able to play. So that's a big one for sure. But also just like getting more visibility. Like a dream for me would be, I'm if I'm biking down the river valley, right? And that's one of the things that I've started doing since moving to Edmonton that I absolutely love is be able to bike from where my apartment is downtown to Rundle, right? There's a whole trail system that can bring you right to the course.
Yeah.
How could we get a basket or two along that path, right? In some of these neighborhoods where you're walking your dog down the park and you just see, oh, what's this thing over here? It's with, metal chains and stuff on it, right? You have a little placard there that says, this is a disc golf basket, right? And this is where you putt from, right? This isn't a course, right? It's a single basket in a park with some benches and things like that. And it just becomes normalized like a baseball diamond or a soccer field, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing that I think as we get more people involved in the sport, as we get more members, as we get more money, as we get more buy-in, we can start to put some of those things out there, if nothing else, to create the visibility and the normalization.
I really like that idea, Daryl. You know what
Yeah.
I think about that is I think you have that out there. This is a tee box for a disc golf course. And then on the other end where the basket is, you could have maybe more like questions like, is this a tripod for taking selfies for Instagram? No. Is this
it's not.
what is this? Oh, it's actually a disc golf basket, because I think Daryl would probably help sponsor that sign if that was the case.
It's not a tripod. It's not a horse feeder. It's a disc golf basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a grill. It's not an art piece, right? Yeah, we've all heard a lot of those things for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was just going to touch on it there. We're talking about, getting more and more members joining the club. 500 is obviously the goal. We've spoken to Tim. He said that there was plenty of opportunities throughout the year, right up until, November, for anyone to be able to grab a tag. We've spoken to Brock. He always has a few on him. So if you're ever out on the course and you see Brock, hit him up. He's always willing to give you a tag and get you signed up. You mentioned about the event there at Langholm this weekend. Do you have tags on you as well? Can anybody, is that a place that someone else can, if they want to stop by and grab a tag from you and sign up as well?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's going to be something that is a group effort, right? So I'm the director of club growth, but we're all responsible for the growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people out there. If you've got your tag on you, right, to be able to show somebody who's on the course who doesn't have one. You're like, oh, you got a EDGA tag? Yeah. What's your number? Oh, I don't have one. Okay, right. Come to Rundle League on Thursday, right? Come to Doubles League on Monday, right? Like when I moved out here in July, right? It was after the point in which these leagues had started, but I still went out and I still was able to play and meet people, right? And I think that is going to be something that is going to be key, is just to create that welcoming environment that you can jump in at any point at any time, and just have fun.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I've recognized, and you've been in a number of disc golf communities, so you can speak on it too, is that the Edmonton disc golf community to me seems very vibrant, very active. Like even to the point, just most recently here in the last day or two, there's been a really eager gentleman who posted up on Facebook saying, I'm getting into disc golf, and he's asking questions and he's got like paragraphs of information. But then I'm looking and there's 35 comments from the community just responding and trying to help this new player and give them advice and get them into it. So I think that's probably the best thing we can do is engage anybody who's out there. If there's that older couple walking by on the course and they stop to say, what are you doing? Take a minute, spend some time, tell them what it is, ask them if they want to throw a disc. Those are the things that we can do to grow the club. Growing the club gets more members, getting more members gets more courses. It's a win every way you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's just not something out there, I think, that can compete when you factor in the low cost to entry, the low, physical demands, right? The ability to be able to pick it up at any age, right? I think it's just such a promising sport to be able to, and it's just a matter of visibility. It's just a matter of getting it out there and getting it on people's radar.
Yeah.
And with that too, I think, Daryl, I don't know if we'll put it in as a reference or not, but I saw a really good little reel there about disc golf math. And it was, disc golf's free, but I got to get the brand new disc. Everything else, it's fantastic. I'm sure there's been 17 of them done, but I love every one of them. So now, Matt, you mentioned the Blue Ribbon course down in Minnesota, but being in Minnesota and playing U.S. courses, that's by far at the top of your list. Are there any other courses that you've played down there or you've been to that really rank up there? So if anybody's looking to put together a disc golf trip, they could start thinking about them.
Sure. So I have the one that I think is at the top of maybe most people's minds is Maple Hill. So I was fortunate when I was living out east to be able to get up there one time, to be able to play. And it does live up to the hype. I think it is, a course that everybody, if you have a chance, should be in the very, very top of your bucket list. But it's actually not my favorite course. Which I don't know, maybe even saying that might be a hot take, right, for some people, because I think it is just this acclaimed course that stands above, for some people, maybe it seems above all others. But the one that I think is at the top for me is Eagles Crossing in Missouri. Have you guys heard of Eagles Crossing?
Again, by name, I've heard it, but other than that, I don't know anything about it.
So it's in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. So I probably would have never had a chance to play it had I not just been living in St. Louis. But it is truly a disc golf course, period. It is not a golf course that was turned into a disc golf course. It is not a park that had a disc golf course installed, or in Maple Hill, a tree farm that was turned into a disc golf course. There are many different courses out there that are like that, but it is a piece of property that from the start was purchased, designed, developed for the purpose of disc golf. And I think that context is helpful to know when you're thinking about sort of what is the best course out there. And when you play it, you see what that execution can look like, right? It's got the driving range. It's got the, just immaculate tee pads, grassed wooded fairways, right? Ponds that were designed specifically for a shot into a built up green that was, bulldozed and, raised and, built for that basket, right? Carts that, you've got trails to be able to go through, OB that wasn't just staked out because it's a rough patch that you don't want to go through, but that was designed with a player in mind. Tee pads for kind of different skill levels, a driving range before you can go. And then the thing that was really fun is cabins on site that you can stay at. So yeah, it was truly, I think, a destination disc golf course for sure. So it's the one that I would say for me is at the top, and I don't know if there's going to be something that can dethrone it, but I hope so. That'd be really great.
And then I know Daryl's got it showing to us there. How many holes do they have on there on that course? Is it 18 only, or is it a little bit bigger with a couple different layouts? Or
I think it was 18, at least in the layout that we played. Although they are developing. When we were there, they were actively building a second 18-hole course. So there will be 2 18-hole courses there. The one that I played, I think is meant to be the more kind of balanced course between open and wooded. And you can see on the top image there with the kind of retaining wall green with the pond there. It really is kind of an iconic shot for sure.
It does say that this is the championship course, and then they also have a course called Wild Times. So maybe that was the course that they were developing.
I think so, and I think that was designed to be more kind of technical and wooded for sure.
Right.
Well, and anytime you say that there's cabins on site and it's out in the middle of nowhere, you'd be like, okay, well, I want to get out there, but I'd love to spend 3 days and, playing the same course from different tee pads to different baskets. That's cool. But to play a couple courses would make it even more enticing. So that's good to see that as well.
Definitely. I'll definitely advocate for this one for sure.
So if we said Eagles Crossing is your number 1, Maple Hill is your number 2,
I would say it's fair, for sure. Yeah.
What would you put
like I said, it lived up to the hype for sure.
It's really interesting looking at this, the caddy book here. Like this one, for example, hole 6. It's a par 4. Not only do you have 3 tee pads, you have the red, white, and the blue. It looks like there's also 4 basket locations as well. So, 7 different combinations of tee pads and basket locations that you can play. That definitely makes for, what's the word I'm looking for, Jeremy? Like you're never going to get bored of it. There's always not
ever changing is what it
ever
would be.
changing. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's just look at that, like 3 fairways almost, blue over the water, white through the center, and then the red on the left hand side with the 3 A and the C baskets right by the water there. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Right.
Well, the one thing, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and then the other one too is to make sort of Missouri to maybe be a disc golf destination you wouldn't expect is you've got the Harmony Bends course, which I believe has been on the Pro Tour a few times. That's not too far away from there, so you'd be able to play that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now you said they had made their own ponds for it. One ideal thing for me, if you're going to make a pond, I would say please make it about 2 feet deep at most, so that we'll always be able to retrieve our discs in that. It doesn't look like they quite grasped that part of it, but I'm sure they probably call people and retrieve discs in that as well.
And I wouldn't put it past them to, I mean, with the amount of money that I'm sure they put into that course, they could probably hire a diver to go out every week and get your disc back for you.
Well, how far is Missouri from Minnesota? I'm not great with my math. Pretty far, or is it?
It's in the same, kind of, it's in the central kind of part of the U.S. So, but yeah, it decent ways for sure. I think St. Louis is definitely the closest city there. And then you've got Kansas City on the other side of the state, which also has some really great disc golf as well.
What it's starting to feel like is it's no longer going to be a week off for World. It's going to be a 1 month leave of absence for Daryl and I to make all of this happen.
That's the dream, Jeremy.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Well, you mentioned those are your favorite courses. Do you have any courses that you haven't played?
Oh gosh, yeah, I have a whole list on UDisc for sure. So many Canadian courses too. I would love to get down to Raptors Knoll at some point. I've heard that one is definitely at the top of the list here. I'll get out east and play some of the Prince Edward Island courses. And yeah, I did also get I talked about the two Worlds. I also got to go to Worlds last year as well in Vermont. We flew into Montreal and then drove down to Smuggler's Notch. Didn't get to play the courses there. And I think it was because it was just a totally different experience compared to the previous two Worlds. There were so many more people there. It was very, very professionally run, but you wouldn't be able to kind of sneak on the course at that time. Right. So those two are definitely still on my list, even though I have been on site. I didn't get a chance to play. So I'd love to get back there at some point for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Good. Well, with you said Raptors Knoll, that's a kind of a local Western Canada course. Are you using this year's tournament season to plan to hit some of these courses? Have you started to think about which tournaments you want to participate in?
We'll see. I mean, a couple of tournaments that I have at the top of the priority are a little more local. So I already signed up for Wally's. So I made sure to get in tonight to be able to do that because it sounds like that's going to be the most fun one of the year is what I'm told. So yeah, to get up there to Athabasca is going to be really great. So I'm in for that one. I'm in for Edmonton Open. So I'm looking, because I actually have not played Bailey's yet. So so that's a course I got to play for sure.
Well, you'll be getting your feet wet with Wildman. They're very kind of the same style of course, very wooded, very technical. Bailey's has a little bit more open holes on it as well.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, living out east in the US, you watch some of the Pro Tour events out there, you see, like gatekeeper coverage because they're local to the Philadelphia area. So they would film a lot of the courses I used to play out when I was living there. I love that wooded kind of technical golf. So to have a couple of private courses here in Edmonton, you can do that is something I'm really, really grateful for sure.
Yeah. And getting up to Athabasca, to me, I played in Hidden Gem last year at Rocky Lane Fairways there. And it is such a great mix of wooded and golf course together. So you've got 9 holes on the golf course, 9 holes in the woods, and they're not like 9 in a row. You're mixing and matching between the two. And it's a beautiful 9-hole golf course and then a nice rough wooded, what am I going to do off the tee? There is one tee there still to this day after playing 3 rounds in it last year. I will stand up on it this year at Wally's and I'll go, I don't know what to do on this hole. Like, it's just, that's how the lines are there, but they're not for everybody. So hopefully maybe my game's improved enough by the time I get there, but you're going to love it up there.
Cool. Yeah, no, can't wait. And I just think the party kind of atmosphere, like to be able to have everybody on site, to be able to hang out before and after the rounds. Like, I think that's the thing. I mean, the golf, I'm sure, is going to be spectacular, but I think the community aspect is the thing I'm looking forward to the most for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Given that that is your train of thought, have you looked at Falcon's Flight?
I have. I'm not sure. So there are a couple of times I'll be traveling down to the States this summer. So I'll have to see like what weekends line up. But that's another one that I have on the list for sure.
Yeah. From what we've heard of, and people have spoken about it, that definitely seems like it's not just the disc golf you're going there for. You're going there for like the end of season kind of send off. It's a real party atmosphere. The 2 different courses. The events outside of the disc golf is what is a real big draw for that one as well. So I know that's on Jeremy and I's list this year.
Yeah, when you think of it, when Miguel Alvarado comes out from Vancouver to go to that tournament, Brian Fries comes out from Winnipeg, and Colleen McInnes this year is coming out from Ontario, all to go to that tournament for that celebration of disc golf. And also, from what I understand, a celebration of Rudy Faulkner's life as well, and everything that he did for the sport in Alberta and that part of it. We can't wait. Although we do understand that you've got to have the fastest fingers in the world to get into that one, because it's going to fill up fast. If you don't know your PDGA number, you're out already, because by the time you look it up, you're going to miss your registration.
Amazing.
So moving on, Matt, we want to get into, as I can see on your chest there, you've got a Dark Ace shirt on, and we understand that that's one of your sponsors. And I've seen a little bit about Dark Ace. I've watched some of their little reels and previews. Sometimes I have to turn the volume down a little bit because I'm old, but maybe tell us a little bit about Dark Ace.
Sure. So Dark Ace is a company. They mostly do apparel, and their whole thing is around the kind of convergence of disc golf and heavy metal culture, which for me, like, those are my people. Like, it's a Venn diagram, and I and apparently enough other people fall squarely right in the middle of the two, right? So that there you go. They've got kind of a pre-sale going on some of their new summer stuff. But so when I was living in St. Louis, which the owner of Dark Ace, that's where he was from as well. I met him just playing around a disc golf. We were talking about music, and he was like, we're putting together a street team, and you're the kind of person I'd want to have on it, because he's just all about bringing people from these two communities that you wouldn't necessarily expect there to be a lot of overlap together, to find that in fact there is quite a bit. And so I just love it. I mean, it was an easy thing for me to be able to support and be like, I'm not the biggest social media personality. I'm not, the best and most competitive disc golfer, but, I go to a lot of shows. I play a lot of disc golf. And if I can wear, the apparel, and, even last week I was at a show here at the Starlight Room downtown, and a guy saw my Dark Ace hoodie, and he's like, "Oh, is that one of those disc golf nets?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. You ever play Hermitage?" Right. So you can be able to strike up those conversations with people that you already know you have not one, but two things in common with. Come on. That's so cool. So it's a company that I think is just, is so unique. It's tapping into something that I'm very passionate about, and would love to spread it around Canada a bit too.
That's awesome. And you mentioned, we already talked about Tundra Toss there, the event that you played in earlier this year, and you were lucky enough to meet some other Dark Ace sponsored players as well.
How cool is that, right? All the way coming from Saskatoon. To be able to meet some other members of the team. That's actually happened a handful of times where I'll just be out at a random course, and I'll see somebody from the Facebook group from that area and be like, hey, I'm going to be in your town. Do you want to hit up this course? And to be able to, play around with them. So it's such a
Give
cool.
a shout out to Arlen and Jerry Ann as well. Yeah, they made the trip over. Yeah.
Yep.
So now here's my question then, is I think the hardest music I ever got into is I got into some Metallica, and then Guns N' Roses, and then I think I limited out at White Zombie. Maybe that was about as high as I got there. Now, the big thing is, for that Venn diagram to really just hit it right in the heart, is there a disc golf heavy metal song?
Heavy metal song. Well, there were some so there are actually some. So there's some sponsored disc golf players. Yeah. There's also some from disc golf. There's also some like Dark Ace bands as well. So there are like touring musicians out there that are rocking the Dark Ace, apparel at their shows and things like that. Yeah. I don't know if there's any original songs out there apart from there was a promotional video that was shared on the disc golf Reddit subpage that they did like a disc golf song on. So. Gotcha. You can find that there. I don't remember what the band name was, but they did a really great job for that. So I know there's at least one out there that's out there on the Reddit verse somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like I threw my disc at the basket and it chained out.
You got it. Absolutely.
Something like that. Is that kind of, do I got a career in it?
Yeah, for sure. I'll hit him up.
No, that's awesome. So let's go back to tournaments for a minute now that we're at Dark Ace. They actually put on a tournament as well out in Missouri. You got a chance to play in it. What was that like? Was it big metal bands and just a cool gathering of music and disc golf, or how did it go?
It was, yeah. So like for bigger tournaments, it's pretty common to be able to have like a players party after maybe like the first or the second day, get people together. And so they did that. There's actually a disc golf bar in St. Louis that you can do watch parties and tournaments, things like that, kind of like some of the things we were talking about earlier. So they had that. But then after the last round, we rented out one of the bigger indoor venues that will play a lot of metal shows in St. Louis, and they had 3 local bands come out and play a show where if you sign up for the tournament, you got a ticket. And so most people who played in the tournament went to the show and got to, I mean, not even sure if most of them were metalheads, but they were disc golfers and they went to a metal show. So I guess they are now. And so I thought that was such a unique thing to, again, be able to bring these two, seemingly diverging groups together and to be able to have something like a tournament and a concert experience all wrapped into one. So
maybe that's where, the Edmonton community is missing out. Like you said, you go to a disc golf tournament, you get a ticket to a metal band. What about if Slipknot gave away EDGA memberships, or I don't know, something like that?
I love it. Where are you guys? Let's hit me up. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, Slipknot fantastic. Is that's the heaviest metal band I could think of.
Just mark it for another time where the Chainout podcast hosts show that they're old. Oh,
the gray doesn't give it away, Jeremy?
No, maybe not.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now if you were going and traveling overseas to one of these heavy metal concerts, you might travel by boat. Hey, Daryl? And things can happen when you travel by boat.
Jeremy, I love your segues. How you can find a path through any confusing conversation, it amazes me. But yes, you're right, Jeremy. Just let's say you were traveling on a cruise, Matt. I'll just quickly play the intro.
Now it's time for Desert Island Discs. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise, however the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island, and fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
Arguably everybody's favorite segment on this podcast, but I'll leave that up to the listeners to vote. But yeah, so you've heard the show, the story. You're shipwrecked on an island. There's a disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you?
Sure. So the first one's got to be a putter, right?
Doesn't have to be. People have broken the rules, but typically putter, mid-range, and driver. So that's up to you. But you've got a putter picked out. So yeah.
Right, and it's not going to be a polecat, but it is. I think it is going to be. So I got an Oilers PA3 since moving to Edmonton. So I feel like bringing a little bit of Edmonton to the island is something that I'd want to do. And I think I've only played island disc golf one time. It was in Hawaii, and I imagine it's very windy most of the time if you're playing on an island course. So you'd want something that's fairly overstable. So I would also be bringing an MVP resistor, which is also my favorite mold. And one that I'm finding, there are some kindred spirits here in Edmonton. I've met a few resistor throwers, which it's not the most common mold out there. Yeah.
There's one there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeremy's a new convert.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then I know Brock has thrown one. I know Tristan and Gabe throw them as well. So there's a few resistor throwers out there, and people who know, like I do, that it is in fact the best mold. So I'd want to bring one of those for sure. And then I right now I've been loving the Supreme Trace. I picked one up at the Gander kind of fire sale because I'd thrown a Trace before, and I'm a big fan of kind of like the 11-speed Wraith
Trace?
class. Like a streamlined Trace.
Streamline. Sorry.
Yeah. So I feel like that's something that. Yeah. So I used to throw Wraiths as well. It's like probably I think furthest flying kind of speed, stability, but for whatever reason the Trace is just like it's the Wraith that I always wanted every Wraith to be. So it's one I've been throwing quite a bit for a long time now, so I probably would bring that as my 3rd disc.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I got my race in the disc swap at Tundra Toss. It all comes back to Tundra Toss. Yeah. And yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah. Shout out to Scott B for donating it. And I managed to pick it up, not knowing what I was going to pick. I just seen the disc there. And yeah, I love the race.
Yeah. Well, and so your trace, great. The resistor, what I found it to be is I picked one up. I got it out of the Gyro Palooza boxes this year, and it's a lightweight resistor. And what I found is I tell Daryl all the time when I get to hole 16 at Rundle, I said, it's time to pull out my mini time lapse because I feel that it's got the right speed for me and it's got just the right amount of overstability that I can throw that one forehand, have that one go out towards the water, and as long as I don't hit the tree, come back towards the basket. So that's a great one. And I love the Oilers choice as well. The only thing I would question, with you were talking about wind and such and the desert island discs. I'm thinking that polecat would have been better for you to fetch some water, or if you had to put some food in it.
Now you're thinking more, what's the Castaway, right? You're thinking more of like you swap out your volleyball for your polecat. There you go.
That's right. More utilitarian.
Shout out to Brian for the that was his version of how he interpreted the desert island disc, right? He had a more utilitarian utility version of this that he could pick, but yeah,
it made us laugh when he said he was going to take an old missilin is what it was, because it was the sharpest disc he'd ever seen, and he would use it to end something's life, I think is the way he put it. So that's funny. You know what we wanted to do too, Matt, before we wrap up and let you go, if you're good with it, is that we've got all these listeners here. We're getting used to having the live thing, turning our head to the side, trying to see what some of the people are saying. And we asked them if they had any questions for you. So I'm just going to kind of ramble here and see if Daryl's ready. I'm ready. He is ready.
I've been ready all night, Jeremy.
If you're good, can we ask you a couple listener questions?
Yeah, you good for that, Matt? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we put it in the chat. Some people have asked some questions here. Not in any particular order, but this goes shout out to something that we've already mentioned earlier on in the episode. Unfortunately, he had to leave the chat, but one Mark Thompson wants to know, what would it take to beat Matt one-on-one? What gets him rattled?
What gets me rattled?
He's asking for insider information.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's going to be at a disadvantage on this because, like, any kind of negative vibes on the card, like, I'm somebody that likes to bring in positive vibes. I'm out there to have a good time. I'm out there to have fun above all else, right? And so if I'm, on a card that everybody's getting along, everybody's having a good time, then, I play better. If I'm on a card where it's tense, it's overly competitive, that's when I definitely start to play a little worse, because then I'm not out there having fun, and that's what makes me play well. So unfortunately, I've played with Mark a few times now. He's a good guy. He's a lot of fun to play with. I don't think it's gonna be a problem with him.
Yeah. Tough luck, Mark. You might have home court advantage, but mental side of the game, Matt's got you beat.
Yeah, what I'd have to say, Daryl, is that if you can play disc golf and have metal just blasting in your AirPods, I think you can play through anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brendan, who is the owner of BR Disc Golf, he wanted to know, what made you move from the disc golf hub of Minnesota to come up to Edmonton?
Sure. So there were a few stops in between. So I grew up in Minnesota. I went to university down in kind of the southern part of the state. And then after that, moved to Michigan for a bit to do a master's degree. So I got to live in, another great disc golf state. And at that time, it was kind of funny because MVP was just kind of starting to become a thing, and that's where they're based out of. And so it was interesting to live in a place where that was already kind of a big disc golf company before now it is as huge as it is, right? From there, moved out to New Jersey to do graduate school. Met my wife, who was doing graduate school in Pennsylvania, nearby in Philadelphia. Lived there for a few years, and then moved to St. Louis to do my my clinical psychology residency. And during that time, my wife was applying to university jobs to become a professor, and the University of Alberta was one that she had applied to. We didn't really know a lot about Edmonton, but it was a great school. It was a department that seemed like a really good fit for her. She did an interview up here, and she was like, it wasn't really something that's at the top of my list, but this U of A is a really, really great place. Like, what if we ended up in Edmonton? So we kind of had to shift our thinking a little bit in terms of, well, how are we going to do immigration? How are we going to, make that move? And fortunately, ended up being a lot easier of a process for us in kind of our position that we were in, where we were like, okay, let's make it work. She got the offer, and we moved up here in July to, kind of get started. And fortunately for her, or for both of us, it's a 10-year track position. So the idea is we're hoping to be here for the long haul. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice that it was so easy for you in the end. Yeah.
And of course, you came at the right time, because you came in the middle of summer when the weather was good. You didn't have to show up in the minus 40 in February. So a nice way to ease your way into the Edmonton weather and community.
Yeah. And, we were kind of mentioning Minnesota as well. In some ways, even though it is moving to a new country, it is moving to a new, state or province. But it does feel more familiar in other ways as well. Like the climate, the culture, the very welcoming, community that we have here. It's felt like a really great transition for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we've already mentioned him earlier on in the episode, and you mentioned him as well, that you've played with him. And I think maybe he has some insider bag knowledge on you, but Gavin wants to know, are you still bagging a stego?
I am bagging a stego, yes. And it's sort of, I view it as sort of like my complement to the polecat, right? Where the polecat is somewhat of a glidey, kind of understable, putter. The stego is the complete opposite. There's no glide. It is very overstable. And again,
you're gonna have to give me some insight. I'm not familiar with the stego. Who makes the stego?
So the stego is, I believe it's is it Reptilian Discs, I believe is the name. I think Gateway manufactures it, but it's not a Gateway branded disc.
Right.
But it is a, it's like, it says it's a 4-speed or something like that, but it might as well be a 1-speed, like 0 glide. It's got a plus turn, right? So like, most discs is either like a 0 or like a -1 or a 2. It's got a plus number on there because it doesn't turn. And then like, a 5 or whatever the overstability for the fade is. And it flies like it, right? I think there's some really funny videos out there of some of the like big arm pros, like a Drew Gibson or an Ezra Aderhold, trying to throw it as hard as they can, and they'll go like 250 feet or something like that. Wow. So I can't throw that far. But it is a great utility disc. And yeah, I think Gavin did see it a few times fighting the wind in that second round of Tundra Toss for sure.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe he's actually talking to Equin right now and saying, okay, you got to come up with a fantasy animal version of the stego now to put on their discs.
Yeah, no, it's a fun one for sure. And if you ever see me out of the course and you're like, oh, I got to try that stego, please do. Absolutely. I think everybody's got to throw it for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then Mark Thompson also has another question. When is Matt going MPO? We've seen that you won MA1.
Oh boy. We'll see. I mean, my goal was to try to win one in MA1 before going to MA40. I guess I hit that a little sooner than I was expecting. So I guess maybe we'll have to think about doing open. But like I said, it's just something where I'm out there to have a good time. I'm out there to have fun. The division that I'm playing in isn't something that I'm as overly concerned about. So if that's what I step up to, that's what we'll step up to.
Nice.
Yeah. If you're having fun in that amateur division, who was it that said it the other day? We were talking to somebody that once you go professional, you can't go back, or it's frowned upon that if you go professional and then you go back to amateur.
I think usually once you're done competing at the pro level, then you kind of go back to amateur. That's kind of when you've said, all right, now I'm just playing back for fun again. I'm not trying to win all the big money. But I was going to say, and I know I never want to age our guests, Daryl. I don't want to do that. But you just did mention MA40. Is there any chance that you're getting close enough that we might cross? We're getting to the tail end of MA40. Are you coming into MA40 soon?
Not too soon. So I turned 30 last year, so I'm in my early 30s. But playing with some of these younger players out there, like like Gavin and like some of these players that are in the MA2 and MA1 divisions that are just coming up. Like the distance they can throw, the kinds of shots they can throw. Like in my mind, I'm trying to prepare myself to, how am I going to be able to play for a long time and not trying to go too crazy. So I'm using the next 10 years to, forget how to play like a 20-year-old so that I can be ready to play like a 40-year-old when I hit it.
Well, I was going to say, you're way, way, way ahead of schedule if you were talking about waiting until you get to MA40 to start moving up and to do that. And you got any more questions there, Daryl?
No, that's about it. That's all I can see right now. I just wanted to also shout out Mike Carey. We talked earlier on about that you would have EDGA tags on you, and everybody else that's part of the EDGA board there would have tags. Mike also wanted to shout out that he has tags on him as well. So if you see Mike out on the course, I'm sure he'll be willing to sign you up as well. So lots of different ways that you can join the EDGA membership, and just $20 get you access to a semi-private course. So those times on the weekends, especially coming up soon now, the weather's getting nicer. Rundle and Hermitage are going to be busy on the weekends. So, that it pays for itself just right there. Like we said, get out to the Niska course. At least it won't be completely quiet, but it'll be a lot quieter than Hermitage and Rundle for sure.
Yeah. Now, Matt, before we let you go, we do want to give you a moment. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered? Anything you wanted to shout out? Anything you wanted the listeners to know? This is your time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about the board position that I have, the director of growth, and I think a big part of that is being a liaison between community members and EDGA members and the board, right? Like, I want to hear your ideas. I'm new to town, right? I'm bringing in some maybe new perspective and things, but I want to hear more from the people who have been here, who know what is missing, who know what they want, right? If I hear you want more courses, I'm going to be advocating, your biggest champion to try to get more courses. But I also want to know, like, if you want to throw a doubles night, if you want to do a glow event, if you want to get a school, you've got a kid who's in school and you want to get a clinic for their gym class, right? Like, those are the kind of things that I want to be able to help support, right? And I want to be able to hear those ideas. So if you've got those kinds of ideas, I'm all ears. Like, I'm coming in with very little agenda and more so wanting to support what is being asked for, right? What people want to see. So yeah, I mean, if you see me out on the course, come up, say hi. I'm probably going to be in some Dark Ace stuff, so I'm going to be easy to find, right? I'm not a stranger by any stretch. I want to get to know the people who are here. I want to be as involved in the community as I can be. So
fantastic.
Awesome.
So if they don't see you and they wanted to maybe drop you an email with a question, do you have an EDGA email that they can send to?
I do, yes. So it's very easy. It's growth@edga.ca, I think.
Yeah.
So I check that email address. I bring those ideas to the board meetings when we have them. And then, you can also find me on the socials as well. Definitely don't feel like you can't send me a message on Facebook or, a text or something like that if that's
right.
How you'd rather do it.
Well, I did see Daryl feverishly typing, so I think he said South Side course for growth would be really good. So when you see that email, even if it says DJ or something, you know who it's from.
I just put the email in the chat. That's all I'm doing. Just making sure. I mean, like you said, it's very easy to remember, growth@edga.ca. So now it's a clickable link.
Perfect.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Matt, for coming on the show. We look forward. We haven't had a chance to play with you yet, but I'm hoping that we'll get that chance. Maybe you and your doubles partner will want to take on, what did we call ourselves, Daryl?
Well, I liked the chainout gang.
Yeah, all right.
Mm-hmm.
But then people in the chat are saying that we should be the rusty chains, or because we're so old that we should be showing our age, that we're the rusty chain gang or something like that. I don't know, but
yeah.
So we should probably mention as well that while we're shouting out Matt and how accessible he is, and if you see him on the course, we're also accessible as well. If we're ever out on the course, don't be afraid to come up to us, and if you want to join us for a round, or maybe you want to throw that sweet berg, then just let me know and I'll let you throw it once.
We've got resistors, we got stegos, we got bergs, we got you covered with
all
awesome discs to throw.
For sure.
There you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you guys, I mean, I really do think, I was talking before about how your club is only going to be as effective as the individual members and what they can bring to it. And we've got some really great people, but you guys are in that club or in that group as well. Not every organization has a media outlet like this that's so professionally run. You clearly put a lot of time, you clearly put a lot of energy and thought into this. And I think it shows in the product, right? And so to have a platform for local people, bringing outside people to have the community get to know them, it's just so invaluable. So I don't want to, I want to make sure that you're included in that conversation as well when we're talking about all the different resources we have at our disposal.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Matt. We
appreciate
appreciate the kind comments for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we look forward to catching you out at the course. Good luck there. We want an update. We'll get it either from you or from Mark. If Mark doesn't say anything, I think we're going to have to get the update from you because we'll know that it didn't go as favorable as he liked. But good luck in that round and have a good one. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Thanks, Matt. What a guest for our first ever live episode, Jeremy.
Yes. And what a great guest for it too. You know, I've had a chance to meet Matt playing putting league and have some conversations with him. And that's where I kind of got a little bit of that flavor that he had just moved to town and he'd been into some other places. And as I was talking to him, I'm like, we got to have this guy on the podcast. Like just all the stories, everything he's had a chance to play, like the world story, that firsthand holy shot story. I haven't heard one like that. That was amazing. I was like on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah. Whenever anyone talks about it, it's always just from the Jomez coverage, right? They always see, like I say, they always just talk about the holy shot. But to get the feel for what it was like to be there and, you know, almost like minute by minute, second by second, like, okay, this was that. And then he was here. And then the 10th. And then to also witness the Paige Pierce, you know, the FPO world.
I guess the OB throw, the fall from, not a fall from grace, but maybe for that tournament, right? Like for that individual tournament where everything was going to peak and then nothing could go wrong and then something went wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not that it went wrong on hole 5 or, you know, anywhere else on the course, like coming down 18. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Well, that's a task I want to put out to the listeners there. Matt said, if you look in the coverage in the background, you might be able to just see the top of his straw hat. We need somebody to, maybe all of us can work collectively and find that picture, kind of zoom in and we go, Matt's moment on Sports Central.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome guest. My only experience with Matt was the AGM for EDGA that we both attended back in, I don't know, I want to say it was like October, November time of last year.
Right.
And yeah, you know, he was elected as the board member there. And yeah, whether he was at Run or Tundra Toss, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I know he said he was, and we all know he was there, but I don't remember meeting him. Our paths didn't cross at that point. But yeah, no, I look forward to catching him out on the course and giving that stego a try.
Yes, I think we'll have to now. If the pros can only throw
Gavin,
250 feet.
Yeah. Gavin, you've built it up to an amazing disc.
That's right.
Maybe not in a good way.
Well, and speaking of Gavin and the other listeners that are still tuned in, thanks for continuing to be in here. We are going to give you a chance too, if you want to drop a couple questions right before we get off of the episode and finish it up. We will take a few of your questions tonight to make sure to let you be interacting. So hang in there. Yeah,
questions for Matt has ended, but if you've got any questions for the Chainout podcast hosts,
fire them away.
We're gonna carry on with the episode, but drop your questions in the chat, or maybe I'll change the chat question. I'm gonna end that one. You can carry on talking.
All right. Well, you work on that. The one thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I wanted to talk about, Daryl, was we talked about the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, and we're waiting for that to be announced. And we made sure to really cover that with our last few guests. But I was so excited to also see that we have another series coming more closer to home where all of the tournaments are in and around Alberta, and that's the Cold Garden Cup.
Yeah.
So Cold Garden, as I've come to know, is a brewery down in Calgary.
Yeah.
And they are working in conjunction with Limber and with the different tournaments there. And the person who's organized the Cold Garden Cup is Jordan Alway. And Jordan is I want to get the word right. He's the PDGA Alberta coordinator. So he's actually our representative for Alberta.
Yeah.
And when you look at this list, I didn't realize it, but we're already planning to participate in a lot of these events. So if we run through them really quick, It's going to start out with She's Up First, the women's tournament there.
Yeah.
And then
still plenty of time to register for that one.
Yes, and if you're not playing because maybe you're not part of the FPO or the FA side, there is also opportunities to volunteer. I think Kristen last told us we were up to 5 volunteers, but it would be great for us to have 10 or 15 or 20 volunteers and have the ability to maybe give the lead card caddies if they didn't bring their own, or some extra things like that, and really step this tournament up, because it's already big and I'd like to see it be as big as possible. So listeners, talk to people, get the ladies in your life who play disc golf to come out and try it. We know of a few different ladies who are this is going to be their first tournament, and it's got to be a great one for your first experience. So
yeah, exactly. It's a 1-day tournament. Surely everybody can spare 1 day to volunteer for disc golf. You love disc golf, so get out there and volunteer.
Yeah, first tournament at Hermitage with the tee pads, with the signs. It's going to be a professional tournament. They're serving lunch as well. I think you get lunch with your registration. So really cool that way. So it's starting out with She's Up First. After that, it's going to Spring Runoff down in Lethbridge. We're going to be at that tournament.
We are.
And from when I looked last, there are over 200 people signed up for it. So it's going to be one of the bigger tournaments, and there's still some room. So sign up, come on down, meet us. We're going to be having drinks. We're going to be playing rounds. We're going to be practicing. It's going to be a good time down there.
Yeah.
Now that we know Cold Garden's going to be part of it too.
You say it like that's the big draw. Come down to Spring Runoff and meet Chainout Podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
After that, I'm actually wearing one of the shirts. I haven't participated in it, but I've won this shirt at a previous tournament, and that's Night Owl. Yeah. So that's going to be happening. And hopefully last year it ended up getting moved to Rundle because of the fires that were going on last summer. Hopefully it gets to stay in Drayton Valley this year.
Yeah.
Then there's the Big Bear Classic in Canmore, River City Cup in Edmonton, another event we're hoping to be part of.
Yeah.
Limber Open, that me as a limber lift pine cone, I'm going to definitely be in that tournament down in the Calgary area. Then you've got Lost Egg in Drumheller.
That's an interesting tournament because they actually played to tones instead of baskets on that course. So I know a few people have commented on it, but yeah, it's a totally different style of play. It's an event all on its own.
Yes, and it's in the Hoodoos as well, so there's a lot of steep elevation up and down. Yep, the Hoodoos. Sorry, after that's Oil Sands Open up in Fort McMurray. I've played in that one before. I'm thinking about maybe trying to line that one up again, maybe with a work trip up to Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
After that, we were just talking about it this episode, Wally's 100 out at Athabasca.
We're going to be out at that one as well.
Yeah, we're both registered. I know before the show, Mark, friend of the show, Mark, was kind enough to get us both registered. And at the time, there was about 32 people, and I think there's only 100 spots. So get in on that right away.
Yeah.
Then you have the Crush, which will be down in Calgary. That's a women's tournament again.
Yeah.
Falcon's Flight. That one is down at Aspen Meadows, and we talked about that as well.
Yeah.
Golden Eagle Open out in Saskatchewan. Kootenay Up and Down in Cranbrook. And then they haven't got all the details worked out, but there'll be a final tournament, which is the Cold Garden Cup Championship to cap it off.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, like you said, it's a really good tournament for Western Canada. You know, it encompasses a lot of the tournaments that we were going to play in anyway. A lot of good courses. Yeah, excited to play in the ones that we've signed up for so far.
Yeah. And they're even breaking it down, Daryl, into different tiers where you're going to there's some B tier tournaments, which will be worth a certain amount of points, and then A tiers, which are 1.5. Yeah. And then the women's tournaments are worth twice the points. So it's kind of interesting format.
We mentioned it last week with Colleen, asking her, like, when she looks at the CDGT, I know the schedule hasn't been released yet, but whether she'll be basing her tournament schedule this year on which events that she can participate in to get the more points so that she can take that, defend her title. You know, anybody in the Alberta region, Western Canada, looking at that, that's kind of like our CDGT. That's our event that we can say, well, Falcon's Flight, I can get some points there. Wally's 100, I can get some points there. The She's Up First, if you're playing in that tournament, you can get some points there. Like, there's something. It's not just that you're going to an event. You want to play spring runoff. You want to play this event. Like there's a reason to play those events, and maybe then you'll play another event or two because you think, wow, I've got 4 or 5 events that I can play in, and I've got a chance of actually, playing to actually play for something.
That's
it
right.
all comes together, and maybe you play that extra tournament that takes you from 10th on the championship to 1st. So yeah, it's good for us.
And they did say that there's actually going to be a Cold Garden Cup trophy for each of the divisions, and you're going to be able to get your name engraved on that trophy. So being the very first year, you could be the first name on there. If you get to the end and you compete in those events, that'd be fantastic. And also too, we've had a lot of conversations with our FPO players, and they talk about having tournaments that are better designed for them, for their ratings and set up for that. Well, She's Up First, all women's tournament, rated against women. It's going to be good that way. The Crush, another all women's tournament, and then being part of the Cold Garden Cup and those tournaments being worth double the points towards it. Seems like they're really keen in and kind of taking that FPO game and really thinking about it consciously on how they want to make sure to support it properly.
Yeah, no, it's all awesome. There's only good things that I can say about it. I just would like to say Mike's in the chat, and he said that for Wally's now they're up to 50.
Up to 50, so half full already. And that's not even, what's it been
2
open?
hours.
Maybe 2 hours?
Yeah, opened at 7 in Edmonton,
So get in there, 3 days of fun, guaranteed, and on a great course as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Another thing starting today, and I'm just going to touch on it a little bit because when we had Zoe on, she had gone down to Raptors Knoll to compete in the university for the games for the college disc golf nationals. Well, they're actually happening, and they start today is what they are. And we have 2 Canadian teams. Yeah, April 3rd. And we got 2 Canadian teams there. We got Trinity Western University out of Langley, BC. They were the ones who put on that one qualifying event. And then we also, so go Spartans is what I got to say for them. And then the other team down there is Redeemer University out of Hamilton, Ontario, which is literally right next to Burlington, where Colleen is from.
Yeah.
So go Lions. So having 2 Canadian college teams down there, good luck to them. We'll maybe update people on the next episode and let everyone know how they did.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic that we've got, like, these are NCAA tournaments and that kind of thing. Like, these are actually sanctioned college tournaments, and we've got 2 Canadian teams down there.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I feel like you're explaining it to me, and I'm glad that you do, because I didn't grow up in Canada. I grew up in England. So NCAA, junior, midget, atom, bantam, all these things don't mean anything to me. So go teams.
I'll tell you this, is anytime a Canadian university or Canadian college can go down to the US and compete at their level, it's a big deal. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So hopefully now with Zoe helping start the University of Alberta's teams next year, we'll be talking about them being down at the college disc golf nationals.
Yeah.
Now, we like to talk about some of our larger Canadian pros and the fact the ones that tour into the US and play different things. And one of the things I wanted to start with was Casey Hanemeyer was sponsored by Gander, and now with Gander not around anymore, he didn't have a sponsor for a bit. We saw that Noah Higgins got picked up by Disc Republic. Kaylin Schatt had as well.
Yeah.
So Casey's been picked up by Limber Disc Golf down in Calgary.
Right.
And
I did see that.
Yeah. And me being a Limberlift Pinecone, I was already proud of that. As you can see, maybe the pine cone in the background there. I don't know if you saw, I planted that a while ago. It's been in about 2 or 3 episodes now.
I gotta admit, I didn't notice that, but
it was sneakily in there.
I like it.
Yeah, but I was.
You should move it around every episode, just if we could play a little game. Spot the pine cone. Where's the pine cone this week?
Well, this one's about everything. I've got the pine cone. I've got Mike Carey's disc golf discs. I've got DJ disc golf up there. Oh, my mic's blocking it, but I think my wooden mini is there behind the mic too. So
yeah, shout out to Kevin. He's in the chat, or at least he was.
Yeah. So anyways, I was very excited to be a Pinecone, but now I've got Casey Hanemeyer sponsored by Limber.
Hey,
I'm a big roller these days. Maybe I can get a few tips
with the big dog.
I'll have, you and I got those A3s from Edmonton Open last year. And I know Casey's very partial to them, so maybe we can swing something out and say, "Hey, Casey, you know, I'm a Limberlift Pinecone. I got my co-host buddy here, Daryl. Can you throw us how to throw them?"
Exactly. I mean, you know, we're venturing out. We want to get everybody up to speed on Canadian pros that may be playing in the DGT and maybe playing in some events in the Cold Garden Cup as well. And, you know, put it in the chat if you'd like to see us interview Casey at some point. I mean, he's definitely on our list, and, you know, it's only going to be a matter of time before we invite Casey onto the show. But let us know in the chat if you would like to see or hear from Casey sooner than later.
Or just send him a message at Instagram at
there
Chunk Discs. You could do that
Chunk
too.
Discs. I'm going to put it in the chat. Tag at Chunk Discs.
That's right.
Chunk.
Well, and also, Daryl, I've just started. It's really started with the Pinecone team. I've had a chance to talk to, kind of message with Taylor Jeffels, who is the owner of Limber, and then also to message with Alex Penny, who is kind of the leader or the captain of the Pinecones. And the interactions so far have been amazing. I said, "Hey, I'm going down to spring runoff. Great. Can I do a practice round with you? Here's last year's caddy book for the course. Here's this. You're going up to Fort McMurray. Let me know. I'll play around with you." They've just been everything but like so supportive. It's been fantastic so far. So really excited. So I just had to pump it up a bit because they've been fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. And like I've said to you before, I'm happy and I'm proud that you are sponsored in some shape or form from, you know, a fine retailer.
Thank you.
There you go.
Now let's quickly hit on a few of the other players that are down there, the pros, the Canadians. Thomas Gilbert, he's off this week. He's going to be playing Jonesboro next week. Chantel Badinsky, she's not actually playing Jonesboro. She's going to be playing again at the Music City Open in Nashville. Max Rajitnik, he's playing something called the Persimmon Ridge Retreat in Arkansas. So that's actually this weekend when we're recording. And then he'll be at Jonesboro as well. And then Gabby Lee, it looked like she was heading on her way back up to BC, and she was hitting up a tournament called Daniel Bowe Memorial out in California. So
nice.
Yeah.
Bit of a Canadian pro roundup.
That's right. So that was that. The other thing too, we did talk about spring runoff, but just to let you guys know, Casey will be there. So Casey Hanemeyer is playing. Noah Higgins playing. If you know any of the Hawk Halters, they're all playing. All three of them, I believe. And then Terry Hong's going to be down there. Kristen's going to be down there. Kristen Swirls. Joe Henderson's going to be down there. Amber Chason's going to be down there. Like, it's just already becoming a packed tournament for local Canadian, Western Canadian pros.
And Tim Plamondon is going to be down there as well. You didn't even mention the president.
So a lot of the people we've talked to on this show are going to be down there. So get in there if you can.
We've had Terry on, we've had Kristen on, we've had Joe on, we've had Tim on. Won't be long before Casey, Noah, and maybe the Hawk Halters. Amber definitely is on our radar as well. So
And then the other thing I wanted to do before we kind of wrap up here is I wanted to thank Parked Pro. We talk about them quite a bit. And just recently here, they do a podcast, but they do so many things. They've got their podcast going. They're doing their editing of all the coverage they did last year. They're trying to get the CDGT off the ground for this year. So they sometimes miss their podcast, their Northern Flights ones. And when they missed it this week or this past week, they actually put a note in their Discord that said, "Hey, we didn't get a podcast out this week, but Chainout Podcast has a great episode with Miguel and another great episode with Brian. Go and check them out." So thanks, guys. We really appreciate the shout out. That's fantastic. We love supporting each other, and any way we can do that, we want to do it.
I think somebody famous once said, "A rising tide floats all ships." So if you
wasn't that you like in a previous episode?
I don't know. May have been. I may have stole it from somewhere. It might have been on like a popsicle stick or something, or a matchbook or something. I don't know. No, we like everything they do, and you know, they gave us a shout out. Whether they like everything we do or they're just promoting us, then we appreciate it.
Definitely. Now, before we get to the questions from the listeners, maybe we can use this as part of the questions too. Is while you're looking at the questions, we need a secret word for all the people who aren't live and not watching live. So once this is recorded, to make sure that they got to the end like you guys did, we're going to need a secret word. So if any of our listeners have any good suggestions for the secret word,
throwing the secret word out to the listeners.
I am. Yeah, if you guys want to help us out, be part of it. Let's put it out there so all the people who watch it
in the chat. Yeah, I like it, Jeremy. I like it.
Yeah.
Anybody in the chat wants to throw out a secret word for this episode, and then anyone else that's listening back to the post-produced episode, let them throw it in the chat.
And I got to shout it out to the listeners too, Daryl, is I love their ability to take last week. I couldn't believe what kind of challenge you put out there with Holly's forbidden fruit banana, Holly's forbidden banana, but yet everybody stepped up and did their part, and they put some great comments and used all three words. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any questions. Oh, okay. No, I think we did have a question. Oh, yeah. Brenda McKinstry wants to know, wooded or park style?
Wooded or park style? For me?
Yeah. Well, for both of us, but yeah.
All right. Do you want to take that one to start? If you have to pick one, if you could only play on one, let's turn this into Desert Island.
It's not that hard of a question, Jeremy. Which, hang on. Go on.
I'm going to say wooded.
I value your opinion, but you're wrong.
I haven't used it in a while, even though I do kind of agree with you. Yeah, I would say wooded as well. I mean, it's nicer and easier. You know, there's something about a nice open course that you can just rip those bombs 75 to 100 feet.
Yes.
No, you know, you can still get technical on an open course as well, a park style course. You can still get technical around the basket. But yeah, playing a wooded course, I mean, it can go really good when you hit that nice sweet drive and you're looking for that gap and you hit the gap and it sails through and you miss the next tree and land right by the basket or in the fairway. You can be proud of yourself, but it can also go completely, you know, you can have a bad hole as well and it completely blow up your round if you hit one of those trees and it goes 90 degrees to the right and then you're fighting your way out, right? But yeah, I think the reward, I mean, it's not really a wooded course, but maybe Wetaskiwin has, you know,
for what we've got around here. That's what I feel.
What's that?
For what we have around here, I would agree with you. I would say Wetaskiwin, Bailey's, Wildman. Yeah, there are wooded, as close as we've got to wooded courses, maybe not really densely wooded, but to me, those are the ones that we tend to gravitate to once the weather's good and we want to go on a trip. That's what we like. So thanks for the question there, Brendan. Did you get any more questions? Just checking.
No, we didn't get any other questions. Let me just check in the question section. I don't think anyone asked it in the question section. They just put it in the chat. But we do have a lot of shout outs for the word or the secret word.
All right. So what do we got there?
I was quite amazed that a lot of people have come up with lots of different guesses. So in no particular order, we've got Star Wars.
Yep.
We've got Rusty Chains. We've got Heavy Metal. Iceberg.
Yep.
I like Iceberg. Glow Disc. It's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike Carey kind of put 2 and 2, you know, kind of half of one and half of the other. So he took the Rusty Chains and the Heavy Metal and came up with Rusty Metal.
Oh, I think we got a winner, don't we? There's some other good ones in there. I see Slipknot in there as well. That's a good one. That would actually be a good one to sneak into some different.
I was just going to say that one didn't get mentioned a lot. So yeah, Slipknot would be. Can we come up with something else? Can we come up with Rusty Metal and Slipknot?
All right, let's put
Rusty Metal Knot.
Oh man. Well, they did, you know, our listeners were great at coming up with all, you know, with 3.
Exactly.
All right, Rusty Metal, Slipknot. Whatever you can do with that, let's get that in there. If you only get Rusty Metal, that's okay.
Rusty Chains, Heavy Metal, Slipknot. Let's make a sentence or a secret word out of that.
Well, put the words out though. We need the actual words. Which words are they? Rusty Metal, Slipknot. Those are the ones?
Oh, well, I said Rusty Chains, Heavy Metal, and Slipknot.
You're putting all 3.
No.
That's it.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying in the chat, those 3 phrases or those 3, Rusty Chains, Heavy Metal, Slipknot, give us a final word or secret combination of those 3. Because we like Rusty Chains, we like Heavy Metal, we like Slipknot. So put all 3 of those together, give us the final concoction.
Okay.
I mean, we could just go with Rusty Metal, Slipknot.
Rusty Metal, Slipknot. That is it. Locking it in.
All right. We've locked it in. Jeremy's locked in. Rusty Metal, Slipknot. If you're listening to this not live, or even if you're listening to it live, because we know you've listened this far into the podcast, drop it in the version that will appear somewhere. We don't know where this recording is going yet. We don't know what we're going to exactly do with these episodes.
We will be releasing it. We just aren't sure which day we're releasing it on, because we do want to give you guys the advantage of being able to listen to it live. We recently recorded with Colleen. We want her to have a few days before Matt's comes out, and then eventually we'll get to that point where it's live and it's released the very next day.
Now that we have a chat, and because we always, on the podcast, we always say, give us your comments, give us your feedback and all that. We get some feedback, but for the amount of listeners and subscribers that we have, we don't get enough feedback, really to be a good consensus of whether we're doing anything right or wrong. But I mean, the fact that our subscriber count, it keeps going up, it indicates that we are doing something right that people like. But now that we have the chat here, so typically what we do is we put an episode out once a week on a Wednesday.
Right.
The 2 days prior, we kind of tease the episode, and then the remaining 5 days, little clips from the episode. 4 days, sorry. Clips from the episode to, people that don't subscribe or that just come across this kind of little clips to redirect them back to the podcast. Is that something that the chat likes? The fact that we tease the episode for a couple days, that one episode kind of every day we're posting, and it kind of keeps your, you kind of get your fix for the podcast every day. And whether you listen to it on a Wednesday, do you get any benefit out of the clips for the rest of the week? Do you like having, do you think they're a benefit?
Yeah. And the other thing too is let us know. We appreciate that you've stuck around to the end here. So I think that the live version of these episodes is a success, and we are going to continue doing it.
Yeah, we still got Mike Carey in the chat. We've got Dylan in the chat. We got TD Molsky in the chat. Brendan is still in the chat. Sonia, of course, is still in the chat.
Well, everybody's loving it and liking it, so I think we're doing the right things.
Dylan loves his Wednesdays with chainout. So. Yeah. Oh, Colleen's in the chat. Hey, Colleen.
Oh, she likes the teasers.
She likes the teasers. Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't heard from her all episode, but that's awesome.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's 9:24 here, Jeremy, in Edmonton.
It's 11:24.
It's 11:24. She's still in the chat. We appreciate it, Colleen. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, do you got anything else to say before we wrap this one up?
Everybody's loving it in the chat. I'm just happy now that everyone's giving us such positive feedback. Teasing serves as a great reminder, and the highlights keep people engaged. Brendan, really impressed with the daily content. That's hard to keep up. So
thanks, Brendan.
Yeah, thank you for all your kind comments. But we probably should end the show sometime, right?
Well, I think what's going to happen, Daryl, and you're going to go out, I'm going to go out, we're going to go find Matt Dwyer.
Yeah.
And maybe Gavin will be there too. And the four of us are going to go out, play maybe a round at Jubilee.
Yeah, that could
work. And when we go out there, we're all going to have to take our turn with the stego.
Yeah, I got to say that's a must.
Yeah. I'm going to find a hole that maybe is about 150 feet or less before we do that. And I'm going to take that stego. I'm going to rip it like my life depended on it. My arm is going to go flying off. And that stego is going to fly. And it's going to go... Probably I'll try to turn it over, but it won't. It'll just go hyzer the whole way.
Yeah.
It's going to fly at that basket. It's going to hit those chains. And, I've already got a couple aces, so what's one more?
Yeah, exactly.
There's one thing that stego's not going to do. It could never do it.
It could never.
Not even once, not possibly. It's not going to.
It's never going to.
Chain out. Jade out. We're out of here.
Okay, just wait. I always get to the end of the episode and I don't get this part set up. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Lego Mastego, and we are out. Hopefully.
Later, guys.